Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Hot Toys Captain America Civil War, the battling version of Captain America 6-scale figure. The battling version of Captain America apparently is only available in the US from Sideshow Collectible. So right off the bat, if you guys are looking to get this guy in your hand, he's going to be released between July and September of 2016. I'll put the link down below to Sideshow Collectible's website. This guy is going to go real fast, so if you want to get this guy in your collection, click the link down below and you can head over to Sideshow Collectibles right now. This is product code MMS360. It's a 6-scale collectible figure. The box art, I have to admit, the box art is really nice. If I just tip the box ever so slightly to the side, I don't know if the camera is picking this up or not, but they've given a gloss, kind of a gloss sheen to the surface of the box itself. The top half features a sepia tone of Captain America, as well as Agent 13, Falcon. And then down the bottom half of it, you have a slightly off-white box with almost a weathered approach given to the bottom half, or the bottom section of the bottom half of the box. I really like that a lot. Spinning the box ever so slightly on its side, you can see how the shield carries over to the side of the box, where you have Captain America battling version MMS 36016 scale collectible figure. You can also see the makings or the start of a bionic arm belonging to Winter Soldier. As for the back of the box, you've got United We Stand, Divided We Fall, a continuation of that sepia tone portrait featuring Team Cap. The other cast on the top there, you have Scarlet Witch, you have also Hawkeye and Winter Soldier. Down below, Team Cap, Captain America battling version MMS 360. Warning, choking hazard. Of course, this is an adult collectible. It's not a toy. It's recommended for ages 15 and up. One last thing I can point out about the box is the sleeve of the box does slide up, featuring then an image of what the figure is going to look like inside, the interchangeable head, the battle-damaged mask of Crossbones, a battle-damaged shield, and several interchangeable hands. Spot's going to take himself a break. I'm going to get this opened out of the box. When we come back, though, we're going to get a better look at the battling version Captain America 6-scale figure from the Hot Toys Captain America Civil War line. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Just before we have a look at Captain America, let's have a look at the exclusive display stand that comes only available with the battling release of this guy. If you end up picking up the standard release Captain America, which is again slated around August to September release, he's going to come on that slightly off-shaped rectangular display stand that's going to have Captain America Civil War on the top. This one is a little bit more elaborate, which I like. The thing, though, I would say, though, detail-wise, it's good. I love the rubble and the little bricks and components that are sitting on the stand itself. The tattered and destroyed wall there, full of bullet holes there. Of course, you got Captain America and Civil War on the front placard there. The thing that I'm not super crazy about, I have to be honest, is that the stand is sitting on like a black base. It doesn't feel as much like a scenery or a diorama display when it's sitting on like a black base like this. I think it could have been either or. Like, for example, the evil Superman. Further away, yes, an older figure, but the evil Superman had just rubble, if you know what I mean. Like, it wasn't sitting on a stand itself. I think by putting it on a stand, it slightly detracts from what the rubble would be had the rubble been only on its own. I feel like this should have been on its own rather than being put on top of a base itself with Civil War. It's still a great looking stand, but I feel like they should have done one or the other. If anything, just have the stand as this top piece. As for the figure itself, this is, of course, the battle-damaged version, so there's going to be slight variations, more so, I would say, in the coloring of the fabric rather than the fabric itself. This is now, I think, Hot Toys' first outing into battle-damaged released figures outside the realm of Iron Man, which basically was the go-to when it came to battle-damaged releases of figures. But this is a battle-damaged release of Captain America, and really, If you were to, which I sadly don't have, if you were to take the regular version and have Captain standing side by side to it, simply it's really just a case that the color is more muted and more scuffed and dirtier on this version rather than if the regular release was right here. The regular release would be more vibrant in color. In fact, if you were to look up the regular release of Captain America and then just kind of look at it and then look at this figure, you can see how this one is quite a bit dirtier in color. I actually quite like that, I have to admit. One of the things I really liked about Captain America's suit in Civil War was that it had a muted more color to it. It wasn't a very bright, it wasn't a very vibrant suit that he had in the original Avengers, and even really in Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America still had a very bright looking suit. It's only through just by sheer virtue of the fact that he's got a more dirtied up costume that I ended up liking it a little bit more because it just seemed more matted. The areas such as the whites and the reds in his outfit are much darker in color because they're covered in dirt and film. Areas such as like elbow pads are now scuffed up, so it's not a pristine, it's not a clean looking finish. And more importantly, areas such as the knees and the boots, more so I would say the knees. The knees are extremely scuffed up. They've given it like a whiter wash and given it just that look that it's been worn away through the battle that Captain America has been going through. And I like that. I have to admit, I really like that. That darker, more muted, again, coloring of his suit, I think works better, really for the sense of displaying him more as a realistic looking Captain America. It looks like something he would have been fighting in a battle, and this is a figure that's a little bit more worn, torn, and a little more scuffed up as a result of it. The only other Captain America I can compare him to is the only Captain America I have in my collection, and that's Captain America from Winter Soldier. Granted, of course, the outfits are very drastically different from one another, but the blue is very similar to it, other than just the fact that he's got a little bit more scuffing. But when you start looking at things like his knees, as you can see on the Winter Soldier version of Captain America, is very clean and pristine. When you start looking at versus the battling version of Captain America, it's much more scuffed up. And again, I really like that. One thing I also want to note about the costume itself is that the costume is a much more pliable suit for him to be posed in. Things moving such as the arms, the elbows, areas such as the legs, the knees, aren't restrained and limited at all just by the stitching of the fabric, which is one slight issue I had with the Civil War version, or the Winter Soldier version of Captain America, was that his suit was so very tight, you couldn't really do too much with posability on him. For his head sculpt, I've never had any issues with the likeness for Hot Toys Captain America figures. They've always looked like Chris Evans. The Civil War Cap is no exception here. The flesh color is quite good on him too. He doesn't have that. Sometimes when it comes to flesh colored figures, they tend to go a little on the pale side, but there's a warmth to the flesh tone that they've used for Cap's face. The only downside though with the battling version of Captain America versus the regular release of Cap, the regular release is going to have interchangeable face plates where you can change the expression of Captain America's mouth. It's going to go from a more neutral face that you see right here, but then you're also going to be able to swap it out for a more grimaced or teeth-showing lower mouth that you can have Captain America displayed in if, for example, you've got him displayed in a battle diorama scene. I have to admit, I'm a little disappointed that the battling version didn't come with that, as it was such a very small accessory. Noting, of course, that the shield itself is going to be damaged. We've got the exclusive display stand that the regular release doesn't have. I can see that they kind of kept certain aspects to two of each figure has its own thing that it has. But I feel like just like mouth plates should have been something that they could have considered, at least for the battling version as well. Perhaps as a reasoning for getting the regular release along with the battle damaged as well. I can't really say whether the face, or helmet for that matter, looks at all damaged. I tried to compare this head sculpt to the head sculpt of the regular release, and it does look like it's the same. It looked for a second, in fact, like the head was a little bit darker, but then I think I was just looking for something there. So I don't think the helmet necessarily, or the face, is all that different than the regular release. It's more so in the body and in the shield where Cap sees his differences. Speaking of shields, there's Captain America's shield that comes included with the figure. Now, one notable thing, as I'd already mentioned, the battle damaged or battling version of Captain America features a scratched up shield at the hands of Black Panther. It looks nice, although it doesn't look like it's been actually scratched into the surface of the shield, whereas in fact it's actually just been painted on. But at least it's not a pristine shield, and that's again one reason why I like the battling version, is not only is the suit dirtied up, but also the shield has a little bit extra damage to it. Other than that, and other than just the little scoffed little areas of speckled mud and debris on it, it's the same shield as what the regular release is going to have. In fact, it has also the same closures on the back that's going to attach to Captain America's arm. Attach the shield to Captain America's back, Hot Toys has incorporated something I have to admit I'm not crazy about. In order to attach his shield, now the Winter Soldier Cap had a little hook that attached to the back and slid onto his back. But in this case, you have to detach both the hooks, or both closures or fasteners on either side. And then you have to use this tool right here. This tool has these little clip points that clip into the opened areas, the areas where the fastener has come out of, and it attaches into those areas, presumably, of course, on either side once you take this other hook off here. I don't feel like that. The fact that this is metal, I feel like this could have been something where they could have magnetized it and just simply attached the Cap's back that way, rather than going through all the fuss and muss of detaching fasteners, which I'm not really crazy about when it comes to Cap's shield. These have always been a little on the sensitive side, but to detach it the way that it is so that the little clasps, the little hook areas, can attach themselves, I gotta admit, I'm not really crazy about that. Once you have it securely attached, you can just go ahead and slide the hook onto Captain America's back. It stays there, but being that the shield is metal, I feel like this could have been such an opportunity for them to incorporate something. Just remove the hook out of the way here. Something here where it could have, you could have added a secondary piece or something that could have been magnetized to attach to the inside of the shield itself. Not to mention, one thing I worry about as well is when you're ready to take that fastener out, being that these little clasps are only really plastic, I don't know how long that's going to last by me popping these out, putting it back in. I feel like sooner or later, those little clasps are going to break. Attaching the hand can be almost as tricky. What you want to do is pop the hand off, or pop the existing hand off of Captain America. Use the hand for holding the shield itself and unbuckle one of the straps. Feed the strap through the hand, and then you can go ahead and close the clasp off on the other, and that securely fits the hand in place. Then go ahead and grab Captain America's arm, and you want to feed it through and then attach the hand back into place. And that gives you a good secure fit, and it looks like something he would have actually strapped around his hand or in his arm when he's going into battle. No Cap displayed would be complete, I would say, without incorporating the shield. And the shield looks great on Captain America. It's as weathered as the suit itself. Again, I would not likely display the shield on the back just for slight hiccups that involves me having to hook it onto his back. I'd more or less be inclined to display him with the shield in hand instead. His accessories will also include: he comes with the battle-damaged helmet of Crossbones, Without giving away any spoilers in this review, in case somebody has not seen Captain America Civil War, needless to say, there is the helmet of Crossbones. This also would be available in the release of the standard regular release, as well as the battling version that we're looking at today. It's simplistic, I suppose, in its design. Relatively light as well. I wonder if we will eventually get ourselves a Hot Toys Crossbones. But again, very simple in design. It's black. It's just a black plastic helmet. And then they have painted on the skull printing on the front here. Of course, a big glaring hole on the side of Crossbones' helmet. I wonder how that would have happened. To come included as well, you get yourself an interchangeable head for Captain America for an unhelmeted Steve Rogers. This is a newly tooled head sculpt for Chris Evans. I think far superior as well than the one that came originally with the Winter Soldier. Here's how the new head sculpt stacks up against the Captain America Winter Soldier Steve Rogers that was included in the 2-pack. I think the hair, they've definitely done a better job, I think, with the hair, giving it more of a goldish blonde coloring. Definitely the face also, I think they've got a closer resemblance to Chris Evans. But really, I mentioned this before, like, Hot Toys doesn't do a bad job when it comes to Chris Evans likenesses. They all generally, even like the older Captain Americas, all generally look like Steve Rogers or Chris Evans. If anything, this is kind of like the Christian Bale head sculpts. They still all retain a good likeness, but as you can see, they just get progressively better with each release. Interchangeable unhelmeted Captain America will also allow you then to pop the head off the existing figure and replace it with the unhelmeted instead. Just for how good the figure looks with the unhelmeted interchangeable head, I'd be more almost inclined to display him like this, and all the more reason to pick up a regular release of Captain America where you could have them side by side. And once again, bringing in the interchangeable head, there is the default Captain America head. Both are really strong. That's the problem. Both are such great head sculpts. You'd be inclined to probably get 2 of these just so you could display one with the Chris Evans or Steve Rogers head sculpt and one for the helmeted Captain America head sculpt. Getting a better look at the likeness there. I suppose one thing they also could have incorporated, being that this is a battling version of Captain America, they could have had the unhelmeted version of him with some sort of notable or noticeable bruising or maybe bleeding from the mouth. Something just to give it a look that it's damaged or he's been battling versus just a very clean-cut Rogers. Don't know if also the camera's picking this up too, but it looks like the tanning, like they've given him more of a tan color rather than the neutral skin tone that they gave with the Winter Soldier Captain America. He also gets himself 4 extra interchangeable hands, consisting of a shield throwing hand, one for holding the shield strap that we've already had a look at, 1 finger pointing hand, and finally 1 extra hand for holding the outer edge of the shield. Not to mention as well, the folks over at Hot Toys give you some extra pegs, so if something happens to the existing pegs that are in the sockets of the arms, no fret, no fuss, you've got extra 2 to work from. When it comes to his posability, Captain America's head is on a ball joint. It appears to be 2 ball joints, 1 ball joint sitting in the socket crevice of the actual neck, and then 1 sitting in the base that is attached to the torso. He does also have an upper torso crunch, which is slightly limited, as you would probably expect, because of the tight knit and stitching of the torso costumed area. He does have shoulder articulation that hinges out, and like I had mentioned with the comparisons between him and Winter Soldier, unfortunately, while you can't really move the arms forward and back all that much without just a little bit of extra tweaking, he does have the rotation on the hinge out, where there's no problems whatsoever. He does also have a double hinge in the elbow, and a rotation in a ball joint in the wrist. Captain America's waist is about as limited, unfortunately, as his torso, just because, again, the stitching of the costume, it's a little harder to kind of really get much motion going in there. Leg motion, on the other hand, no problem. No problem at all. You can move the legs out, forward and back. There's a top swivel in the top cut thigh area right there. He has a double hinge knee. And he's got a rotation. Technically, he has a rotation in the boot, but it's only really by where the boot is attached to the leg, as well as he has a hinge in the foot, with also a slight pivot, being that this is sitting via a ball socket joint. Comparing the battling version of Captain America versus the regular release of Captain America, both bring pros and cons to their respected releases. Captain America here, yes, does come with a dioramic display stand, but unfortunately it's just a little on the small side. On a plus, though, he's got the battle-damaged shield, which I think is something that collectors are really going to gravitate towards, especially if they get themselves a Black Panther on display. And more importantly, the aged or weathered outfit is a big plus for me. I like the aged look, the worn away costume look, rather than something that's pristine. The regular release of this guy is going to have a more clean, pristine outfit, so really it's just a matter of preference which one you would prefer. I gravitate more so towards the damaged or battling version of Captain America just because it's a more muted looking color scheme of the costume I really like on Cap. Again, it's just a matter of preference as to which one you prefer. Both are pre-orders currently sitting at SideshowCollectibles.com. This particular, the battling version, again, is going to be in very limited numbers, so if you guys are interested in picking this guy up for yourself, Spot will put the link down below, and you can head over to Sideshow Collectibles and pre-order this guy today. Again, if he's anything like the previous Caps, he's probably going to sell it quite fast. So if you can, try to get him pre-ordered as soon as you possibly can. Today's collectible spot, we were looking at the new Hot Toys Captain America Civil War. This was the battling version release of Captain America. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.